data set and displays it within the C interface. Now, as you can see, C basically takes each of the data fields and splits it into categories and measures based on the metadata, and gives you a easy to see list of all the data fields in that particular data set. This is the online payments data. Uh, Here you can select a visualization tool that you would like to use for your visual query analysis. You can either create pivot charts and pivot tables. You can display your data on a map, which is coming soon to the platform, and you can build standard charts and graphs using this data. So let's jump into pivot data for now. So within pivot data, you can see the main chart interface over here, and there are two sections. One's called drop zone and one's called filters. So when you drop something into a drop zone, it quickly visualizes that dimension or measure as a chart within the main charting area. And when you drop something into the filter, it uses that particular dimension or measure as filters for you to use. Let's look at, so I've dropped in product, which sort of shows the count of product 1, 2 and 3 against each other. Now maybe I want to drill down a little bit deeper than this. So maybe I want to split the product by the type of payment. So one way is to drag this and put it below it, and so now I can see uh, what the number of transactions for each of the products 1, 2, 3 against the type of payment, maybe Amex, Diners Club, MasterCard, or Visa, and I see all right, product 1 seems to have a lot of activity on Visa cards. A better way to see this is a heat map, obviously, and so you can just take this and put it in the rows drop zone, and suddenly you can see a heat map. Alternatively, if you're more comfortable with tables, you can switch the view from a charts and graphs table to a table view and see a smooth and very easy to read table. You can also filter your data by selecting specific uh, uh, measures or dimensions that you want to filter your data with respect to. So maybe I want to study the transactions of these products only for say the United Kingdom and the US. So now the data is filtered just to show that data, and you can go back to the chart view anytime you want and shuffle between these views as and when required. Uh, an alternate thing is to take the payments type and actually drop it into one of the few attribute sections that actually takes the main data set and splits it into several different pieces. And maybe you want to see how for just for fun's sake, the price of a particular product against the latitude at which it was sold. So maybe you drop this price in columns and latitude in rows, and suddenly you're creating scatter plots on the go. Now, typically, this kind of data set would be best represented on a geographic map, which we plan to have soon within C, and I'd love to showcase that to you. You can also save this particular view with your favorite view name that you want, and that's it. It gets saved. Uh, More interestingly, you could save it using the save button, obviously, but you can also take notes, which is something we found very interesting. That a lot of business users we spoke to said that they like to take notes when they're doing their data analysis. So we made a handy scratchpad esque tool for you to say, hey. Via the Visa card network. You possibly save it for posterity or use that to create a data-driven presentation in ACT. Uh, at the same time, you can create multiple views from the same data set. So you can select your recently used data sets, you can create another view. Maybe this time I want to look at transactions, the count of transactions across time, and suddenly it's visualized as a beautiful line chart. Uh, Similarly, you can drag specific measure related filters into the filter section, and you get a histogram which you can then use to filter out data of interest to you. Finally, you can take your saved views and move on to the third piece in